Joining us is Small Business Women Australia CEO Amanda Rose. Amanda, great to have you back on Power Hour. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Look, I want to get to what's happening in America in a moment, but let's start with what's happening in Australia. Because we've seen probably one of the biggest fails from a leader, a Prime Minister, in a very long time, when Anthony Albanese brought a domestic violence rally organiser to tears. Also, he's been declaring that he's the Prime Minister, and that certainly goes to his character. You know, why are we seeing leaders behave this way? Why did Anthony Albanese feel the need to act in such a way?
It is very disappointing. So essentially he was offered to speak. She said, would you like to speak? And obviously there were 5 demands she wanted to put forward for him. And he was like, I don't agree with those demands. I don't want to speak. But what happened was he turned up, realised how many people were there that were heckling him. And he's like, oh no, this is obviously bad for my political career. I've got to get up and speak, and then use that whole, I'm the Prime Minister, I run this country, which is still interesting because it doesn't seem like he's running it only into the ground at this rate. But it was more the fact that once he did that, he lied and then she cried and he didn't stop. Right? And so he gaslit a girl, humiliated her. This is not the characteristics we want from someone who's designing policy for women or for the country. Right? And it was good in a way that people got to see the character during difficult situations. And if anything, people need to say, you know what, that was poor behaviour. I still might vote that way. I still might prefer Labor over Liberal, but I demand a better leader in Labor.
You know, it doesn't seem like a leader would be that secure if they have to declare that they are the Prime Minister. You know, I had my moments back in Melbourne during the COVID years when I was questioning Daniel Andrews, and it certainly wasn't always received well. But why do politicians act this way? You know, you study leadership.
Don't you know who I am?
Of course. Well, exactly. What does it tell you about them?
Arrogance. Yeah. And look, the reality is superiority and inferiority are 2 sides of the same coin. So if someone is acting superior, it means they feel extremely inferior. And that is not what we want in leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, let's talk about what's happening in America. It's just, I keep saying it, hard to believe what we're seeing play out. We've seen these anti-Israel protests at American universities across the country. How has it gotten to this point? You know, how have these universities, institutions really let students down by failing to act that now it's been 7 months since Hamas attacked Israel and we're seeing this rise of anti-Semitism?
I think what the issue is here, well, I always blame the government because they love divisive tactics. They love it when people are at each other and at each other's throats. And people protest when they feel like they're not being heard. And then you've got the people that take advantage of a protest and are violent. And then the people that are genuine in their plight, right, as demonised. And I think this is a classic case. So there are a lot of people that have family in Palestine that want to be heard. Hang on a minute, can you listen to us? And the government doesn't. The government's in a lot of areas said, no, we're not listening to you. And they just relate Palestine to Hamas and to terrorism, end of story. They need to split it. And they also need to sit down and say, you know what, let's take both groups and sit down, treat them with respect, treat the students with respect, put a round table together, have a discussion, come to a solution and move forward. Because when there is no discussion and when you're not feeling heard, you see this in every area of life, people feel, I have to protest. Then you've got people that take advantage of it. But I'll say this, the governments love it when people are divided because then they can come in with a solution and look like a hero.
Is that why we're not seeing a lot of action from Joe Biden?
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay. Look, fair enough. Let's look at the election in America. We're not too far away, only 6 months until the November 5 election. RFK Jr.'s campaign has confirmed that he will be featured on the California ballot. Now, this marks the 4th state where RFK is virtually guaranteed a spot on the ballot, positioning him to challenge Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Amanda, you've been following this closely. How would you assess RFK's campaign and where it's going?
Well, it's getting juicy, I can say that. So now people are starting to kind of attack each other. And what's really interesting is now he's been labelled as the protest vote. So you're an independent, you're just going to ruin the election, essentially. It should be down to the 2 major parties. And it's interesting because it happens the same in Australia where people demonise that third independent or someone that's not the 2 major parties. The reality is, if the 2 major parties listened to the people in the first place, there wouldn't be such support for an independent candidate. So how about they listen to what RFK is saying? Why do people want him? And then look at what you stand for and what policies do you need to change in order to get those people on side.
Look, RFK has come out today saying that he would like the opportunity to debate Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Would you like to see that?
Absolutely, I'd love to see that. I really would. A three-way debate.
Yeah, I think you're not alone. That's funny, Joe Biden hasn't taken up the offer yet.
Never does, and that's the thing. And that is also a concern, the fact that he's not.
Well, look, we know Joe Biden is known for making public mistakes, a few gaffes here and there. Do you know the answer to this one? How many times has he made gaffes in public this year alone? 100
and actually I'd say 1,000, but I would say that they've admitted to what, 148?
They've admitted to 148, which is just astonishing. It hasn't even been 6 months. So according to reports by the Daily Caller, Joe Biden has made at least 148 gaffes and public blunders this year alone. Look, I said on Sky News earlier this week that anyone in the spotlight would be forgiven for making a mistake here and there. It happens. But 148, you say 1,000 in less than 6 months as a leadership expert. What do you make of it?
Well, some of them have had to completely reverse. So it's not like, oh, it was a little mistake. It's like, no, it's the complete opposite to what he said is what he actually means. This just highlights that he's not the one running the show, right? And I'd really love to see an investigation, a really good documentary on the people who are making the decisions behind the scenes, because they put him out, which I think is still insulting that they put him out when he's not in the state to be able to do this. But who is really running the show and why is this happening? Now, imagine if Trump did that. Imagine if he, or RFK, if anyone else did that, they would say you are not fit to be a president. There'd be absolute riots everywhere. People would just like get rid of him. Twitter would be going off. But no, the hypocrisy is quite suffocating.
And it's kind of hidden, isn't it? If Donald Trump had, it had been proven that he'd made at least 148 mistakes in the space of a few months, wouldn't it? It would go crazy.
That's right.
Look, Amanda, finally, actor and comedian Jerry Seinfeld has come out this week insisting that wokeness has gone too far and it's killing comedy. This is what he's had to say.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day, most people would go, oh, Cheers is on, oh, MASH is on, oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on, All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people.
Is he right?
Well, yes, he is. What's very interesting is that he's a Democrat, yet it was the Democratic Party that really pushed this whole PC agenda.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs to become a Republican, I'm not sure. But it's true, and I think this comes down to if you don't like it, turn it off. If you don't like a conversation in a group and you're offended, and some are genuinely offensive and some aren't, walk away. You have the choice to do that. But to demand other people think like you, believe like you, act like you is really weird and quite unnatural. So if you don't like someone, go and find your people.
Totally. I'll just switch it off. It's as simple as that.
It is.
And then maybe we'll have a bit more options when it comes to quality TV.
We do need more options, and we need more clean humour.
Yeah.
Bring that back.
Amanda Rose, so great to speak with you. Thanks so much for joining us.